All right, good evening, everybody. We will call this listening session to order for the Bloomington City Council. We do have a quorum, so we're going to get firing away here because I know we've got a lot of folks who have called in and pre-registered. So I see Sally here. Matthew? No? I saw Matthew. I thought I saw Matthew.
I didn't see Matt.
Trace? That's okay. You're Trace. Sheila and Cheryl. And Mike, are you hoping to talk? Or are you just here to hang out with Loman a bit?
I'd like to talk.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. So, and we did have Matthew sign up as well. So right now that gives us 5 people who are on the list here. So to fit it all into our half-hour time frame here, everybody's going to be limited to 5 minutes. And again, not because I'm mean, just because we're trying to make sure that everybody gets the same opportunity to speak. Okay. Sally, why don't you start us off if you could, please?
Okay, so most of you have a paper that I dropped off. So last time the mayor asked about the previous owner. When Lutheran High, then Concordia owned 8201 Park, they owned the parking lot circled in purple. There were 2 entrances, one at the south end of the parking lot and one at the north end of the parking lot. The south entrance had lighting, as you can see on that map. And as you can see on the map, it shows entering and exiting and then the yellow dot for where the lighting is. The area circled in blue was owned by the power company. The city and Lutheran High School paid to construct this parking lot, which is now considered the Darrell Fruch West parking lot. But just for those who don't know, the city and the previous owners built that parking lot. Okay, so then recently, most of you were on the city council. Obviously, Victor wasn't. Approved Darrell Fruch's request to increase the intensity of the property and change the parking lot. What was the entrance on the north end of the property became an exit. The south end became the entrance, and a new entrance that I have colored in blue there was created. And neither of those have lighting as required by city code. And last week, the mayor said someone would contact me, and no one did. And I'm here again to see, what staff is saying. They say it's okay that we have a parking lot that doesn't have lighting.
Mr. Verrugi, I think, do we need our community development folks out there, or planning folks out there?
Yeah,
Do the lighting
Mayor, council
situation?
members, so appreciate the information Ms. Ness has provided, and all of this was looked at by our planning staff and approved by council before. So expectation is the codes at the time, but to your point about last time, I missed that. That's my fault that I didn't have information back to you. So I'll make sure that we do that before the holiday. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick clarification, Sally. The yellow is the light at the entrance. Isn't that the north?
That is the north end, yeah.
Okay, your narrative says that's on the south. The south entrance has lighting.
Okay.
Is that, I just want to clarify.
Yeah,
So I'm not
yeah,
misunderstanding. So,
no problem.
okay, so it's it's the previous north entrance exit.
Oh,
Current exit.
yeah, so I didn't, yep, thank you.
Okay.
As everyone noticed, I said south there and it's north.
Okay, great. I thought I was.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I understood it correctly.
Thanks.
Back in the day, the north entrance.
Was both in and out.
In and out, and it had the right lighting, but then when it changed so that it only goes this way, we don't have now, sorry, this way, right, south to north. We don't have the lighting on the entrance on the south side.
So,
Yeah.
but I do think one other question, just if the city manager can help us understand, because I have driven around Sally and looked at a lot of other properties, and it is not common to have a light directly at the entrance. It is common to have parking lot lights. And I will say honestly, sometimes they're near an entrance, sometimes they're not. But I have not seen anything in the city at other schools, other religious institutions that indicate that there needs to be a light at the entrance. And so I just asked for clarification on that because that does not seem to be widespread within the community.
So as I had said, I had contacted the city before about this, asking about the lighting, and the illuminations in the lot have to cover the whole parking lot, which includes the entrances. So no, some don't have a specific light. If the lights that are up, the illumination covers that entrance That's what I was told to me. That,
Okay, so it doesn't require one at the entrance. The illuminations need to cover that area and they need to comply with the other codes, which reduces the amount of illumination at the property border to not negatively impact other properties. Is that accurate?
I didn't get into a discussion that far. What I was discussing is how dark it was. I sent pictures of how dark it was. You guys saw the pictures of how dark it was. Then the question was, does it have to be lighting? And then they investigated and they said, a parking lot has to be lit. Every part of the parking lot has to be illuminated to such and such. They didn't go into, and specifically the light that's there now, that would fit whatever illumination is protecting from the neighbors. So that is probably what this one would, yeah,
Fair enough, fair enough. For
All
clarifying.
right,
yeah.
thank you. Grace,
Hi,
hi there. And you, if I could ask if you could just identify yourself and then sign in as you, because you're a new speaker, you can sign in when you're done. You don't have to do it right now. We don't have to take up your time doing it. You can do it when you're done. So
okay.
welcome, fire away.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. I want to talk about sustainability. Because I think there's a lot that I just want to plant the seeds of and say that I'm concerned about it. Number one is this is a more health issue, but the spraying, use of pesticides, herbicides. I think it's mostly herbicides in city parks, like the one right in front of my house. Is still being done by Bloomington Parks Department, and that is making that land toxic and land around it possibly toxic, poisoning the water. And in the long run, to be a sustainable city, we will need to eventually produce food out of these areas. And so I think it would be wise to stop using chemicals in them now, so as to not have mental health problems and cancer later on. If we think about our grandchildren and 7 generations on, which is what we must do. So that's number one. Number two, this one is, I thought of it, but watering the parks. I don't know how much of a water issue we have here, but I just noticed, like, when I was traveling in Europe and stuff, often the parks were not watered and the grass died, and that's just what happened, and it came back the next year. And personally, I don't think we need to extra water the land. That's minor. I also think it's important to when we're planting trees, like I see a lot of trees planted in the parks and stuff, and I think it could be nice if they were edible so that people would have better food security, better health. If we started, instead of putting a flowering crab, which is edible, but it's really hard to harvest the berries, we could put just an apple tree. And instead of this beautiful red bush, we could put one beautiful red bush and one currant bush. And then, people could have more community. I think the implementation of urban farms, which is being done extensively in Minneapolis, could be adopted as well in Bloomington on lots that become available. It could provide a lot of education opportunities for youth and community and food security, and not to mention eliminates the need for a few more trucking stuff from Mexico and from California and Peru and South Africa. So I think that's important things to think about.
Did you go to the opening of the community garden over by fire station number 3?
I saw it.
It was on Saturday.
By the way, I think we're making progress. I see that things are happening and I love it. I'm just saying, let's do it even more. Yeah, that garden's awesome. And I see a lot of things here as well that are great. And so, yeah, woohoo, good job. The last thing I want to talk about, since we're at 5 minutes, well, almost, is the yards. I think if you look at Minneapolis, I don't know, I'd love to be corrected, but like in Minneapolis, they encourage the planting of native plants. And you do not need a landscape plan to turn your yard into a beautiful edible prairie that attracts pollinators and sinks water 10 feet into the ground with big taproots. But here, you can do that, but only if there's already, if I'm not mistaken, a place to put it. I would love more autonomy, like instead of control over the citizens of Bloomington, to add, to convert their yards into native prairie or with fun paths and edible things and beautiful flowers instead of these monoculture lawns, which don't do anything except promote the use of Monsanto. I think that's it.
I can on that one.
Please.
Yep.
Yeah. You're gonna be very happy in the fall, I think, Trace. We have, our Sustainability Commission is bringing forward, a bunch of native planting applications for us to
Yes.
move our ordinances forward.
Awesome.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Cool stuff there. If you have any questions about that, we could get you the info for MS.
Yeah, I would actually love to
Cool.
learn more about that. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I took 50% of my yard in the back and already converted it. So
Hey.
to the curve. Maybe I'll get in trouble, maybe I won't. I don't care. But
Yeah,
but it's important. I agree with you completely. And I think we'll be happy with some of the progress we're making.
great. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Real quickly, Mr. Mayor and council members. Legislature also recently
That's
passed
true.
something that requires cities to allow
Yes.
yards to,
Native landscapes.
or, yeah, the
Yep, that's right.
native landscape. So
without the plan,
with,
submittal?
without a plan submittal to us. Yes.
Okay, when is that?
Well, the state legislature,
No, we adopted it a couple weeks ago.
yeah, we
A
did.
couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So
No longer in.
so I can do it.
The one thing I did want to talk about, your concern about the herbicides.
Yes.
I found an email from our natural resource manager from a couple years ago. And he talks about how we use integrated pest management strategies. And it's a number of different tactics. So we do use like Roundup or non-selective herbicides containing glyphosate less frequently. And we usually do that only when we need to control unwanted grasses, like if we're doing a turf restoration, something along those lines. So the staff is already trying to implement best practices. But this is a 2-year-old email. So what I will do is I'll get an update from them and see if any of the practices have changed, and we'll follow up.
Awesome.
Leave your email. We'll follow up and get you more.
Leave my email here.
Yep, if you
right
put it
there.
right there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks for coming in, Trace.
Mhm.
Sheila.
Whoa.
Hello, my name is Sheila Berry, and I'm here to talk about the raid that happened at my house last year of 2023. God forbid something like that ever happened to any of you with your adult children, and it happens to you, what happened to me with the Bloomington police coming into my home the way that they did with my 12-year-old daughter there and my 6-year-old grandson there. So we're going to start off with where I left off last time I was here. And it was the Bloomington police found no drugs in my home. I was sitting handcuffed in a chair in my garage and I could hear them destroying my home, and I was getting angry. I asked them several times to show me the warrant. The search warrant was for my son. My name wasn't even on the search warrant. The search warrant of my home was, the search of my home was illegal. My rights and my family's rights were violated. My children and my grandchildren's innocence was taken from them by what they went through that day. My daughter is in therapy now and is having trouble coping with everyday existence because she has been traumatized. I was falsely arrested for child endangerment for firearms stored behind locked doors. These firearms were legally purchased. I have a carry and conceal permit. I was never a danger to anyone. I was taken to jail and I was never read my rights. I was told I wasn't under arrest when I called days later to complain about the way I was treated by officers. If I wasn't under arrest, then I was kidnapped. I was taken against my will from my home. I was released 8 hours later without a court appearance or charges. This is police misconduct and malicious intent. After an entire year, I received court papers charging me with 2 counts of negligent storage of a firearm. This is malicious prosecution by the Bloomington City Attorney. If I was in fact a danger to my children, wouldn't I have been charged with child endangerment? That's what they arrested me for. Why am I being charged at all? I did nothing wrong. The fact that Bloomington kicked in all my doors, causing $5,000 worth of damage to my home, proves my firearms were behind locked doors. Bloomington police fabricated a charge on me because they were trying to take the attention off of themselves for what happened at my home. Police misconduct, police corruption. I have so much more to say, but I was only given a few minutes to speak. I also have cameras that record audio and video. I have on camera Officer Barak saying, "What do you think the city will be charged with?" He was obviously aware that what they did was wrong and illegal, and I can provide that video at any time. I have requested many times to see the officers' warned video cameras and was denied. Police misconduct. What happened with being transparent? Who is policing the police, Mr. Mayor? I want someone to investigate what happened in my home, or it's time to contact civil rights attorneys and the media about it. I also want to add that my 12-year-old's grandmother had just recently passed, and they had dumped out the ashes that she had in an urn in her bedroom. And that's something that we got pictures of. But I don't want to end this on a bad note, because there's 2 officers too that actually stood out to me. And they're out of the 20 officers that were at my house that day. One officer finally turned on my car for my dog that was panting in the heat. And is a female officer. I don't know her name. And then another officer that was in full raid gear, because I was asking the officers to let my children go next door. My 6-year-old grandson, my 12-year-old daughter, they didn't need to be there. They didn't need to see it. They weren't under arrest. But yet they were treated as such, as if they were under arrest. They were told by an officer if they kept moving, they would be put in handcuffs. So at that point, I'm like, you know what? Let my children go next door. And I have that on video as well. None of the officers would allow my children to go to my neighbor's house, who was outside waiting for them. And finally, one officer in full raid gear came out, his arms out around my children, and walked my children next door. One officer. 2 officers out of that whole group that was at my house that day were actually human beings. The rest were not. And I hope that this never happens to any of you, because how would you feel about it if this happened to you? And I wish I would have never moved to Bloomington, because that was my downfall with my son getting into drugs and all the things that have happened.
Sheila, your time is up, but I do want to repeat like what I said last time we talked. I know this is an ongoing or an open type of investigation, so we're not going to ask questions. We're not going to comment on this. Other than I would recommend, if you feel you've got legal recourse, I would recommend that you pursue that. And
Oh, I am.
I mean, you can talk to us. You can talk to us, which is great, but to take provide.
Oh, I am. And you were about to get hit with the lawsuit, but then you hit me with those charges with the guns that were locked illegally. So, or locked up.
Mr. Murray?
If I may, Ms. Berry, if you're comfortable leaving a copy of your comments, that would help me in terms of being able to share information back, just so I can do a little bit more looking at the history.
Sure.
Actually have my.
I have videos too. I can show you those videos.
Yeah, the comments would be helpful though, if you're willing to share those with me, or you can email them afterwards.
Okay. About what happened at my house is what you,
Yeah, the comments that you have that you presented to the council.
okay.
Comments and she presented last time as well. So,
Yep.
yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl?
You want my time? No, go ahead. Am I next?
You're next.
Okay, I'm Cheryl.
And
Mother.
Cheryl, before I let you go, I'm going to say that I saw a couple of people come in late. We were parsing out the time according to the folks who were here when we started. So I apologize. I don't know that we're going to get to you tonight. We've got Cheryl and we've got Mike yet, and we're
I can hurry.
going to wrap up. Okay. That's so nice of you, Cheryl. But please go ahead.
Okay, again, I'm lived in Bloomington 34 years, 5 kids, 16 grandkids and a 7 great. Anyway, since this happened to my daughter, it's been a year now. It has been very wearing on me and my husband. And there's always, whenever there's a cop car near her house, I get worried for her because they can come for no reason. And give out tickets to other people right in front of her house. It's kind of obvious. And I drive to my husband's house, who's on 12th, and I'm on 84th. And I always drive both directions coming back. Is there any cop cars around? Is anybody hurting her? My daughter looks younger than she is. You wouldn't believe how old she is. But anyway, I won't say. Anyway, the kids after the raid that day, the grandson of hers and the cousin of hers, someone else came over right after it happened, and they were just a wreck. Almost in tears, and her daughter was just, you couldn't even talk to her. She's the one that was naked. And they put the towel around her because they busted into the shower. And I don't know, but it's affecting my husband and I big time. They come to the house, like I told you, looking for my granddaughter, who has an addiction, which they never help her with. They just throw them in jail, take away their life. They took away her son's 10 years of his life because he has an addiction and just throw him in jail. Send him to a treatment center. It sells drugs and gives drugs. That's happened to Tony also. And I guess that's it. I'm just very, harassment and abuse is what I think of Bloomington police. And that's all I can say.
I'm sorry you've got that.
One good thing I'm gonna say, when I lived in Bloomington, off of 84th and Irving, I got to be in a little shot of the Fargo movie, which was fun, but that's neither here nor there. But can she take any of my time, or?
No, we don't do it that way, but
Okay,
appreciate your coming in, appreciate your comments. And as I said, with the fact that it's ongoing,
and I think,
say thanks for coming in.
and the other raids, of course, that were over, there's no investigation in those. That was 10 years ago. So those investigations should be over so they could be talked about also. Even when her son was in an apartment in Bloomington, the police come and blew the door open just because of his addiction. Never finding anything. 3 raids.
Right.
Thanks.
Mike?
That's fine. Too bad to see. Good to see you. Just a quick follow-up. Well, first, my name is Mike List, 10313 Fifth Avenue South, Bloomington, Minnesota. I noticed that the council, that you had the Hennepin County Commissioner here during the last meeting. Did you follow up with group homes? Because a lot of the group homes here are associated with Hennepin County. And then I was just going to give you a little bit of,
I don't think that came up in the Q&A with the commissioner. Did not.
That's unfortunate. So just, you asked for follow-up the last time we chatted was, I said 62 911 calls, 57 of them by staff. Claims of NIMBY being the problem. I think obviously unto itself, that is, those stats make that a ridiculous statement. So just city manager, were you aware that shortly after, the issue that happened, us meeting as a group, meeting with the police staff, that after that, the individual left the facility and was unaccounted for a 24-hour period?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah. So that even after all of that, the individual's gone, and we haven't even gotten into the extensive history of that individual, of sexual convictions, felony assault with, I think, what was it? Felony assault, multiple felony assault convictions two of them with significant injuries involved. So again, I'm talking about where there needs to be recourse and there needs to be accountability to the operators to make sure that the neighborhoods are safe and that the individuals themselves, I mean, if he was treated appropriately, could he still be in the situation he is today if he was getting proper treatment? I mean, those are the questions that need to be asked. Those are the questions that need to be brought forward. And operators need to be held accountable for these things. And it's just, I get nothing but blank stares.
Let me ask you, Mike, you're 2 months, we're 2 months into nice weather now. Has it improved or are you still seeing the same issues as you have in the past?
Well, number one, we've talked about that. I mean, not as much use in the backyard. And so we have, other than what I just talked about, we haven't observed anything recently, but, it doesn't negate the 3 years of previous activities, right? It's still, there needs to be accountability. And how do we do that? And there are so many layers of bureaucracy involved here that you have the state, you have the county, you have the city. I have a meeting, so I've met with Representative Coulter. I was hoping he would expend a little bit of political capital to try and, see what's going on here. But he was nice enough to forward a contact. So I am setting up a meeting to talk with someone at the state level. But I don't have time to continually be chasing this down. And I just feel like no one is taking ownership of this. And I mean, just your response and saying, hey, we didn't bring it up when you had someone that is directly involved with a large percentage of the homes in Bloomington, wasn't even raised as a topic.
I think
it's disappointing.
Yes, it also, have you contacted her directly? I mean, you've come to us a number of times. We have said that it's generally a county issue. Have you contacted Commissioner Guttel?
I'm a one part at a time. I'm going through the state first and then
No, but I mean,
over to the county.
I know.
She was copied on email.
She'll
Get a response.
Just respond quickly. I mean, if you contact her directly, she will respond. That's my experience with her.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Well, just one moment. I'll go look through my emails and I'll confirm, but I'm fairly certain on my initial emails. I believe I did copy the county and the state, but I'll have to double.
Yeah, no,
I mean, I typically try to, but the other thing is I'm no expert.
And we can get you Commissioner Guttel's email address. And again, because you've come to us and we've said this is not a city, I mean, the police issue certainly is, but those homes are not city regulated homes. So to talk to her directly, I think might be the logical next step. And don't jump it up to the state. They're at the county level. So talk to the person who represents you at the county.
No, okay, well, I mean, I don't know, I'm looking at the list and half of them are run by the state and half of them are run by the county, is my understanding. I mean, I asked for a breakdown of who owns what and I never really got an understanding.
Mr. Mayor and council members, if I might, and this doesn't totally get at what you're concerned about, Mike. Our staff does have ongoing conversation with the operators, and I know with yours, we've talked to them. We don't think there's a history of bad intent by the operators. I know we're going to disagree on that, but what I will also tell you is that at the state level, they've made it more difficult this year for local governments to try to have a role by limiting the ability of cities to require rental licensing for these types of homes. So that was, for us, one of the better ways to make sure that operators are continuing to provide decent, safe, sanitary housing and facilities. And the state has actually taken that away from us. So we can no longer require a rental license, which is going the other direction from what you'd like to see. And frankly, for our folks that, we wanted to maintain that ability because that's one of the best ways that we have to get in and make sure that facilities are being operated well. at least on the, from a visual perspective. So,
And the reason you haven't heard from me for a while is that I have been trying to work with the state. I'm only following up because when I talked to Mr. Verbugi, he had said follow up. And so I
Okay.
am kind of following up. I felt like after the commissioner was here, it would be a good time to stop.
Get that.
So that's why I did stop.
I strongly encourage you folks, call in ahead of time and get on the list.
In the wrong room, so I
don't
want to interrupt you guys.
So we can get you on the list. And so we know how to parse out the time and we know how to do this a bit better. And so we can share it. But I appreciate your coming and come back next time to top of the list. How about that? So we are at 6:15, folks. I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're going to motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Okay.
We are adjourned. I will see you downstairs. Thank you much. Thanks much for everybody who came in today.